Hey, welcome to Breaking the News Plus on this Wednesday night. I'm Jana. Joining me tonight is a frequent guest, Republican State Senator Julia Coleman, to talk about an interesting piece of legislation that got heard and passed in the Senate today. Hey, Senator Coleman, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Well, you know, this is a topic near and dear to me. I am a parent. You are a parent. So what happened in the Senate today for working parents?
Well, in the Senate today, we probably saw one of the largest rule changes we've seen, I would argue, in the history of the Senate, allowing for parents with minor children to bring their child to the Senate floor. And we designed this rule change in a way where it's really designed to address the natural hiccups that come in childcare as a working parent, so they don't have to just stick to voting remotely and having their voice stifled that day. They can actually fully participate and be parents.
And this is something that the House had done years back, or how long ago did the House change its rules to allow this?
I believe over a decade, maybe a decade and a half ago.
So to the cynics out there that say, I don't get to bring my kid to work, why should you? What's the answer?
Well, I certainly would encourage companies to continue this type of progress. I had a letter that I handed out to other senators from a group called Women Venture that represents hundreds of female CEOs and business owners in this state that said, we can't show the public that parenthood and motherhood are incompatible with public service. And there's certain unique things about this job that made this rule change, I believe, necessary. For example, only I can vote. I can't call out sick. I can't have somebody else present my bills for me. I can't have someone else speak for my district on the floor for me. I can't be in that room doing the negotiations and building those relationships. I can't have anyone call in for that. And there's also such an unpredictable schedule. Times that I'll leave Monday morning with my trunk packed, unsure when I'm coming back, unexpectedly on the floor till midnight, 1, 2, 3 in the morning. And so we are hoping that this is sending a message to the people of Minnesota that we're family friendly here and we're getting with the times.
Yeah, that getting with the times is a good way to say it, Senator Coleman, because it modernizes what it means to have working parents. And you just nailed it right there when you talked about the very unique role that you and other lawmakers have, that you can't pass it on to your colleague to do for you if you got to go pick up from T-ball. It just doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking of a time that I believe I wanted to offer an amendment on the floor, which again, only I can do, and to speak to it and to push my button and vote. And we had a childcare hiccup, and I had to bring my 3-year-old son with me that day. And I had to have the poor thing keep his hand on the wall outside the Senate chamber. And I had to tell him, buddy, please don't move. I have to go in and vote, and leave him there by himself. And so it's just those things that are kind of ridiculous that I'm hoping we're going to see an influx of young parents get the message today that you can serve here and we're going to support you in doing that.
That visual component of it, or that understanding, and you and I talking about it right now, that can't be overlooked too, to what you just said. Many people, and I've heard them myself, both Republicans and Democrats, women especially, say, maybe I would be good at public office, but I just don't have that kind of time. There's no way I could do this and do that. I just can't. And they just stop the conversation before it starts.
Absolutely. And I've even had conversations with women interested in running that the more they learned about the Senate, the more they thought, okay, I should wait until my children are older. Or maybe I would go look at the House where if something came up, I could actually bring my child. And I would hate for a rule in the Senate to be a barrier for women that are, or young parents that are wanting to be in public office. But another point I made today is there's still a long way to go. A couple of senators, myself included, have lost our ability to breastfeed our babies. I lost my ability to breastfeed my premature twins. She lost her ability to breastfeed her daughter because while there is a pumping room in the Capitol, there's nowhere off the floor where we're working for sometimes 10, 12, 24 hours at a time in one spot. And there's never been an opportunity to hold the voting board open for people in this situation to go do that. So today is a giant step in the right direction, but there's still some changes we need to see.
That's a huge point. My wife had the opportunity to continue breastfeeding as long as she wanted to because she wasn't in that kind of position. And not everybody who watches this may understand what that feels like. Even I don't, because I didn't do it. But having to make that decision, not just on your own agency, is one that is painful to make.
It absolutely is, especially when it's something as delicate as preemies and
Right.
their nutrition and their health. And so, while I don't think this rule will impact me, I said on the Senate floor, I have 3 boys under 7. I don't think I would subject the Senate to that toddler fight club I get to referee every day. I'm comfortable with them in a room down the hall. This is more about what we're telling the mothers and the fathers of young children that are coming after us. And we're coming in larger numbers than ever before. And so this should hopefully be a positive change.
And you bring up an important point there. This isn't just about moms, dads too.
Correct. And there were a number of young fathers involved in speaking today in favor of this. And some of them have children younger than my own. And they seem to understand. And this new generation of fathers, I think, really understands the importance of both parents being equally involved in a child's life and in their upbringing and in their caregiving. And so it was great to see them involved as well today.
Absolutely. So this is just a logistical question, and maybe it's too far down the line, but what exactly will the kids do when they come in there?
I would imagine in the case of my 3-year-old back 3 years ago when I had to bring him, he would have sat on my lap. I would have given him some scratch paper, which we go through an unholy amount of paper in the Senate, to color on. There's not the best choice, but there is the screen time with the headphones option. There's tic-tac-toe. There's talking to me quietly until I have to say, honey, I need to speak now. And, setting him back on my chair while I stand up to speak to something. Parents know where their children's limits are. If there was a good time where I didn't need to speak or vote, I'd probably have them do wind sprints up and down the side hall. Parents know when their child has reached their limit and when they're in a good place to be on the floor.
Right. And almost all of us. I mean, I'm 48 years old, but I can remember going to either my mom's work or my dad's work after school because they didn't get out of work by the time I was done with school. And you just figured it out. That's part of being a parent and a person in the modern era. And it should be that way, kind of no matter the job, because not everybody's going to be able to afford, another layer of childcare. I can't imagine. It's not like you can just call somebody on the bat phone and I'm going to be here in perpetuity, stay with my children.
Absolutely. I understand that in order to do this role, I have to have consistent and reliable childcare and a backup. And sometimes that even falls through. For example, when we had my kids' school close on Monday for a snow day, and then my mother couldn't get out of her driveway. And so then I have to resort to voting remotely at that point. There's hiccups that come with it. And so I'm glad that the Senate is seeing that this happens and the importance of making sure that we're still saying, but we still want you here to serve.
Absolutely, because we don't want to rule people out because they're doing everyday things that most Minnesotans do. Go through that phase of life with young kids. We don't want to rule out an entire population of people because of a rule that says this can't be your backup. You can't bring them here.
Agreed. And it's been reflective in the culture. The letter I shared from Women Venture shared that women are leaving the workforce in massive numbers, and all of them have been citing childcare related issues as the reason and flocking towards companies that are adopting flexibility and understanding. And if you need to bring your kid for a meeting you can't miss, we understand. And I'm hoping that this rule is going to show that the Senate can still function with being the higher chamber and not fall apart just because there's a kid there. And if anything, I think kids there are a good reminder of how serious the work we're doing is.
And this is something that clearly had some bipartisan support. You talked to you're a Republican, another senator you spoke of Senator Aaron May Quaid, Democrat. This passed today, 41-25. So it shows that you had some bipartisan support here. It wasn't about party.
Correct. When I saw what really sparked this change was a couple of weeks ago, Senator Umu Verbatim. I went to go say hi to her baby as she's getting marched off the floor with her 7-month-old, and just reached out to her and said, this is enough. One mom to another. Let's make this change. And so I think the lesson learned today was you want to get both sides together, get between a parent and their child, because for me, this wasn't a partisan issue. This was just what we needed to do.
It's just a personhood issue. Well, we thank you for talking with us about this tonight, Senator Coleman. It certainly is a change that I hope that people at home can talk about and just reflect how it looks on their work and kids. And it's a bigger issue of how do we get to be whole people, not just how do we get to be a senator.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on to talk about this.
All right, that's all for The Plus tonight on Wednesday. I'll see you back here next time. Take care.